Hello, and welcome to today's session where we are going to be focusing on the modern cloud IT methodology. In IT today, we have a stigma around printing, that printing is a legacy system. And we're going to really look at the way that modern cloud has worked and why that stigma exists around printing, and how ePRINTit will help you overcome that stigma and to become much more relevant within modern cloud architectures. But first, to understand how we got here in this model, we need to understand the old cloud. And cloud's been around for quite some time, that we can certainly call the old cloud the old-fashioned cloud, whereas this is where we found ourselves. We had a lot of local infrastructure still because we were doing a lot of cloud synchronization. We had things like local authentication, so we had local Active Directory syncs, we used local DNS, we had organizations like, even Citrix, even Azure. Microsoft had an Azure on-prem setup, and with hyperconvergence, that Azure on-prem setup allowed us to work within our local LAN infrastructures and synchronize that to the cloud. Even backups, even cloud backups had local cloud synchronization servers that were allowing us to make sure that the cloud infrastructure was always up to date because of what was happening with the local cloud sync. And this infrastructure was pretty painful. It didn't really move away much from the traditional, but it did allow us to use things like Exchange Online and other cloud services that Microsoft were pushing. But today, as we look at the modern cloud, we've been able to alleviate all of that local infrastructure, those local file servers, even file and print servers. We've now moved all away from that local architecture and we've provisioned that in cloud. And today we run, in most organizations, multi-cloud systems where most organizations are subscribing to many different clouds, whether it be SaaS clouds for applications like QuickBooks or Sage Online or Salesforce, etc. All of these systems are cloud-based scenarios, and we work in a multi-cloud scenario today. But when we come back to that effect on the local infrastructure, it's meant that actually that local infrastructure is gone. I just need now internet access. Even when I locally log in to my devices, my authentication service is provided to me via the internet. Things like multi-factor authentication, single sign-on solutions, all of that is now being provisioned to me via the internet, via HTTPS. And that's also led to the point where I no longer need my MPLS, my direct connect, the VPNs, etc. We don't need that for local infrastructure or services. There is none. And this growth, this push, has meant that I can now secure these devices because I no longer need device-to-device communication lines. And the more we've seen this adopt, and we now call it the Internet Office or the Internet Only Office, this has been a big trend. It's actually no longer a trend. This is actually what's happening today, and it will continue to happen. And we see it grow more and more, where businesses are consolidating their organizational footprints and even their actual physical real estate footprint to be able to use these collaborative areas within their organizations, and more people work flexibly at home or remotely, and they come into these communal areas and access services and meet and greet and things like this. But it's very, very secured now because we no longer need that device-to-device communication line. However, that has left printing wanting because we've lost our file and print server. How do I communicate with that printer when I'm in a vertically consolidated environment like an internet office? Well, we'll have a look at that now. So now we've moved over to the modern cloud service, and I have my devices connected via the internet, even LAN or Wi-Fi connected locally, I'm still communicating via everything I do in the cloud. And we're able to secure every single device in an isolated bubble. It gives me as much security as I possibly can. And because I've got internet access, I can subscribe to my SaaS services, I can do my authentication services, and I can collaborate within the cloud with my colleagues, even though they're sat next to me or the other side of the planet. It's no different. I just need that internet connection. So when I bring printing into play and I try and isolate it, we have a problem, because now I can't print to that device because it's an isolated device. I cannot look left, I cannot look right, I can only look out to the internet. And unfortunately, printing has had to negate the modern IT methodology by introducing or reintroducing, as we did in the old-fashioned cloud, device-to-device communication lines. And this has meant that we are going against the grain of the acceleration into 100% cloud and internet only. And we have now decided to, as far as the print industry has decided to do direct IP print management using, cloud profiles or GPOs, etc. And basically the driver management of that means that, well, basically we've turned everybody's client machine into a print server. Yeah. And I need to manage it as an organization, as a business owner, as an IT director. I have to now manage all of this infrastructure. And yes, there are solutions that make that easier, but it is not modern IT methodology. The other way that we've seen a lot of solutions move into managing this difficulty, this challenge, is by introducing, we come back to our secured model. Unfortunately, we've now seen this being introduced into the infrastructure, which, whether we call it a bridge, a hub, a cloud sync, or whatever, it is a print server. Yeah. And unfortunately, that again has led to device-to-device communication lines. We have exceptions there. We've now introduced a print server, whether it's been renamed to something else or not, or it's a Linux or a Windows, it doesn't matter, it's a print server. And now I have to, as an infrastructure owner, as a customer, that has been introduced to my network and I have to manage it. I have to manage it, I have to patch it, I have to secure it, I have to set it up, I have to train on it. All of these things are massive considerations in modern IT. Plus, I've introduced a single point of failure. And if I try to elaborate this for resilience and redundancies, then I am again introducing more requirements on that local infrastructure that is contrary to what modern IT methodology states. Now, for resilience point of view, we then see the big idea of doing things like hybrid, and then suddenly hybrid is just completely throwing modern IT concepts and security concepts out of the window. Because now we have device to device and we have sharing of data, we have spooling of data between different client machines. I might print from my machine, it's not only stored on my machine, it's stored on your machine, etc., etc. This is just growing and growing and growing and exacerbating the issues and the stigma that is around print systems in modern IT cloud. And that's why it's not sexy for IT. Because IT still look at us as a print, industry, as legacy. So let's have a look at what ePRINTit is doing to align with the modern IT cloud. So let's introduce our secured area. So we have our secured areas, we have our internet access. And for ePRINTit, the biggest thing and the most important thing to understand is that our cloud service is true microservice environment. It's like when you log into Azure and you are, allocating rules and scripts and things within that UI, in the web UI, there is no start button. It's not a server. Your tenant is a collaborative group of microservices that you're subscribing to deliver Microsoft 365. The same with Google Suite, the same with AWS services. This is the modern true cloud. We do not deploy servers, we deploy code. And it is a 100% microservices hosted in AWS. And what that also leads into is a lot of modern methodologies that we've adopted within our technology. So let's bring our printer back in. And whether it's networked or Wi-Fi, we still want to segregate it. We still want to protect it. But for us, the base requirement for that device is it needs power and internet. And for HP, we want our WorkPath app installed on that device. With that scenario, all I need is internet access. Now we are using, and we believe we're the only technology that's leveraging this within the print industry, is using MQTT protocol for device to cloud communication lines. This gives us a direct communication line to your device with the ePRINTit WorkPath app for a heartbeat. And we do that via MQTT, one of the most fastest, secured, lightweight protocols within IT today. And it's being leveraged by many industries and using the IoT methodologies. And this is what we're using to address the device locally. But also what that means for the user in this model and modern IT is not only have we secured every single device for between client to client, we don't need that anymore. So we've isolated it. They cannot look left. They cannot look right. They don't need to. We print into the ePRINTit cloud via the HTTPS protocols, which again, modern alignment. We communicate to the device using MQTT protocols to make sure we've got the heartbeat and we've got the alignment with the printer. And then we are moving the print job through the system. And one of the things that I will bring the last point on this slide to is solutions. We can not only provide with our WorkPath app secure print, copy, scan with the embedded WorkPath app on the HP device, but we can also provide direct print even through cloud. And what I mean by that is that not every organization would like to have secure pull printing. They still want to be able to hit print and they want a piece of paper to come out of that machine directly. Well, with ePRINTit, we do that in modern cloud methodology without no local infrastructure, without no local client to client or device to device communication lines being required, and even through mobility as well. So these are a lot of advancements that we're doing in ePRINTit. Really appreciate your time in watching this. If you want to look at more around ePRINTit, how we do it, how we configure the technologies, then please reach out to us or reach out to your HP product manager, and we can do more sessions in the future where we can describe and help you with aligning yourself to the modern IT world. Thank you.